was just after 1 p.m. on a bright Tuesday afternoon in downtown Atlanta. The city buzzed with its usual hum, cars honking impatiently in traffic, people bustling across crosswalks with phones in hand and coffee in the other, and the early spring breeze brushing through the modern glass towers that lined the street. Among them stood the sleek 10-story headquarters of Summit First Bank, a relatively young but powerful institution in the financial world. The building itself was a masterpiece of contemporary architecture, with blue-tinted glass reflecting the skyline in sharp angles that gave it an air of authority. Inside the lobby, everything gleamed with elegance: polished marble floors, minimalist black furniture, fresh orchids on the welcome desk, and soft jazz music playing through ceiling speakers. It looked every bit like a place built for the elite. At exactly 1:08 p.m., the glass doors parted as a woman walked in. Her name was Monica Ellis. She was 42, tall, poised, and dressed in a navy blue power suit that had clearly been tailored to perfection. Her heels clicked rhythmically against the marble floor as she moved, steady, unhurried, confident. Her presence was commanding, not loud or flashy, but grounded. There was something in her posture, her gaze, her silence that suggested she wasn't someone to underestimate. Her natural hair was coiled tightly into a low bun, and she wore minimal makeup. Her only accessory was a gold wristwatch and a slim leather folder tucked under her arm. As Monica approached the teller area, she gave a polite nod to a young woman near the welcome desk who smiled back faintly, not fully recognizing her. The manager on duty, a man in his early 40s named Travis Connolly, was standing behind the counter. He wore a navy vest over a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and had the look of someone who enjoyed a small amount of power far too much. He was leaning slightly over the counter, chatting with a colleague, when Monica stepped up with a calm smile and said, "Good afternoon. I'd like to make a withdrawal, please." Travis barely glanced up. He noticed the color of her skin before anything else, then her suit, then her folder. Without checking her ID, without asking how much she wanted to withdraw, he said sharply, "Ma'am, this area is for clients only. If you're looking for human resources, that's down the hall to the left." Monica raised one brow slightly, unfazed. "No, I'm a client. I'm here to access funds from my account." Travis gave her a look as if she were wasting his time. "Do you have an appointment? We don't do walk-ins for large transactions, and I don't recognize you. You'll need to come back when a supervisor's available." Monica held out the folder without a word. Inside were all the necessary forms and credentials. Travis didn't even reach for them. Instead, he muttered, "Yeah, I'm going to need to verify this. You'll have to wait. There are processes." Monica stood still watching him, her expression unreadable. The lobby was practically empty, save for 2 other customers and a bored security guard. There was no line, no rush, and absolutely no reason for the treatment she was receiving. Still, she remained calm. "Are you refusing to assist me?" she asked. Travis, turning away as if to end the conversation, said dismissively, "I don't have time for this right now. You'll need to come back later. Maybe talk to someone who handles these things." He didn't know. He didn't recognize her. He didn't care to look deeper. And in that moment, he had just made a very big mistake. Monica didn't argue. She simply stepped back, calm and composed, as if she were merely pausing to make a mental note. Her heels tapped softly as she moved to a corner of the lobby, away from the counter but still in clear view of the staff. She opened her phone, tapped a number she knew by heart, and brought it to her ear. "Activate Protocol C3 at the downtown branch," she said in a quiet, controlled voice. "Immediately." Then she hung up. No dramatic tone, no raised voice, just deliberate, surgical precision. Less than 2 minutes passed. The lobby remained quiet. Travis returned to chatting with another employee, half laughing, oblivious to what was coming. But then the glass doors at the entrance opened again, this time with purpose. 3 sharply dressed individuals strode inside. All of them wore black suits with gold Summit First Bank pins on their lapels. One carried a clipboard, another had a laptop case. The third, a woman with silver blonde hair, scanned the room quickly until her eyes landed on Monica. "Ms. Ellis," she said respectfully, with a slight bow of the head, "we apologize for the delay. We're here to resolve the issue immediately." Travis blinked. He was still behind the counter when he heard her name, Ms. Ellis. His head whipped around in confusion. "Wait, who?" The blonde woman turned to him and said with a cold, clipped tone, "You do know who this is, don't you?" Travis laughed nervously. I thought she said she had an account or something." "She does," the woman snapped. "She has every account. This is Monica Ellis, the CEO of Summit First Financial Group. She doesn't just bank here, she built this institution." Silence fell across the lobby like a dropped curtain. The security guard, who had been leaning on a wall looking half asleep, straightened up in a jolt. The young woman at the front desk blinked, suddenly realizing why the name felt familiar. And Travis? He looked like someone had thrown a bucket of ice water over his head. He stammered, I didn't know. I thought." The blonde cut him off. "You didn't think. That's the problem." Monica finally walked back toward the center of the lobby, her eyes calm but burning with quiet disappointment. She stopped just a few feet from Travis and looked at him, no longer with polite restraint, but with the full presence of someone who'd earned her position through decades of grit, intelligence, and resilience. "Travis," she said, voice clear but cool, "I created this bank to empower communities, to serve people of every background with respect and integrity. But instead, today, I walked into one of my own branches and was judged, dismissed, and denied service by someone who works for me." Travis opened his mouth to explain, but the words tripped and fell. "Ms. Ellis, please, I didn't recognize you. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just a mix-up." "Stop," Monica said sharply, but without raising her voice. "Don't insult my intelligence. You saw a black woman in a suit. You assumed she didn't belong. You didn't even check my credentials. You didn't ask questions. You dismissed me because of what I looked like. That's not just bad service, it's institutional bias, and I will not let it fester in my company." Travis looked desperately at the blonde woman, then the others, searching for a lifeline. None came. The corporate staff had stepped back now, giving Monica space, not just as CEO, but as someone delivering justice on her own terms. Monica folded her arms, pausing for a moment that felt like a judge handing down a sentence. Then she said the words he hadn't expected to hear so soon, or maybe ever. "You're officially relieved of your duties," she said, "effective immediately. Security will escort you out." The silence in the bank was now absolute. You could hear the humming of the air conditioner and the faint tap of someone typing behind a desk in the corner. Travis stood frozen. "Fired? Just like that?" he said, his voice rising in disbelief. "You can't be serious." "Oh, I'm very serious," Monica replied, her voice like steel beneath velvet. "Because you weren't just rude. You violated the very values this bank was founded on. And if I allow that to go unpunished, what kind of leader would I be?" Travis turned, angry now, confused, ashamed all at once. "This is crazy," he muttered as the security guard walked up to him. "This is over a misunderstanding." But the guard, now fully alert, gestured toward the door. "Sir, I need you to gather your things and come with me." And just like that, Travis Connolly, the man who had ruled his little corner of the bank with smug superiority, was walked out the front door by the very system he thought he controlled. As he disappeared from view, Monica turned and walked over to the front desk, addressing the stunned receptionist with a small, calm smile. "Let's make sure this place remembers what we stand for," she said. Then, without another word, she disappeared into the elevator, leaving behind a room full of people who had just witnessed what happens when power, respect, and grace converge in the hands of the right leader. The moment Travis was escorted out of the building, the energy inside the bank shifted. It was as if the temperature had dropped by a few degrees, and yet the atmosphere had never been so clear. Monica stood silently for a few seconds, her presence alone demanding attention. Everyone in the lobby and behind the counter seemed frozen, caught between awe and unease. She didn't yell, didn't make a scene, didn't raise her voice even once, but the impact of her actions spoke louder than any outburst ever could. Monica slowly walked toward the center of the lobby again, her heels making crisp clicks against the marble floor. The 3 corporate staff who had arrived earlier stayed respectfully behind her, not saying a word, not interrupting her quiet command of the room. Employees peeked over their cubicles and terminals, unsure if they should look away or pretend to be busy. No one had seen anything like this before. An executive so hands-on, so present, so swift in her decision-making, and so composed in the face of direct, personal disrespect. Monica turned slowly, facing the remaining floor staff, 5 employees in total, all of whom were now standing behind the counter nervously, her eyes locked briefly with each one of them. "I want you all to understand something," she began, her voice calm but firm, the kind of tone that makes people listen whether they want to or not. What happened here today wasn't just about me. It wasn't just about Travis. It was about what this bank stands for and what it absolutely cannot tolerate. No one dared to speak. The air was thick with awareness. Monica continued, "We built Summit First Bank not just to compete in the financial market, but to lead by example, to prove that an institution can be profitable and principled, that a bank can serve clients from every walk of life with equal respect, dignity, and care." Her eyes moved to the young receptionist at the welcome desk, the only one who had offered Monica even a half smile when she entered. No matter who walks through those doors, whether it's a janitor or a CEO, your job is to treat them with professionalism, with fairness, and with basic human decency. She paused, letting her words sink in. One of the tellers, a young man in his 20s, swallowed hard and nodded slowly. Monica turned her gaze back toward the empty space where Travis had stood just minutes ago. "You all saw what happened. He judged me based on how I looked. He dismissed me before even asking my name. He refused service to the person who signs his paycheck, who leads the company he represents, and he did it with arrogance." She narrowed her eyes slightly, not in anger, but with the quiet force of someone determined to set things right. That kind of behavior is not just a mistake, it's a symptom of something deeper, and it won't be tolerated here. She gestured toward the corporate team. "Effective immediately, we are initiating a full internal audit of client interactions at this branch. Every customer service report, every complaint, every missed opportunity to help someone will be reviewed, and mandatory retraining will begin tomorrow morning." One of the employees finally spoke up. "Ma'am, are we all being investigated?" Monica turned to her, softening her tone just slightly. "Number, you're not under investigation, but you are under observation. From this point forward, how you represent this bank matters more than ever, because what happened today doesn't stay in this building. It goes to the top. It goes to every other branch. It becomes a story, a lesson, a warning, and a precedent." The room remained hushed. Some employees shifted uncomfortably. Others looked inspired. All of them, however, knew that the day had just become a defining moment in their careers. Monica's voice dropped slightly in volume, but grew heavier in weight. "You are the face of Summit First. Every smile you give, every cold glance, every moment you choose to listen or choose to ignore, that's what clients remember, and that's what defines us." She looked down for just a second, then back up, her gaze softening further. "I'm not here to punish everyone. I'm here to build something better. But it starts with honesty. It starts with accountability. It starts with today. Then, without another word, she turned and walked toward the elevators again. As she stepped in, one of the corporate assistants followed and pressed the top floor button. The doors began to close slowly, and just before they shut completely, Monica glanced back at the staff one last time. "Let this be a reminder," she said. "Leadership doesn't always wear the uniform you're used to, and power doesn't always look like what you expect. But bias?" She paused. "Bias always reveals itself, and when it does, it gets corrected." With that, the elevator doors sealed shut, leaving behind a floor full of stunned employees, a rewritten atmosphere, and the unmistakable feeling that something important had just happened, and nothing at that branch would ever be the same again. Upstairs on the executive floor, the atmosphere was a world apart from the tense energy below. It was quiet, sleek and professional, dimmed lighting, frosted glass walls, minimalist black and white artwork, and long hallways that smelled faintly of lavender and leather. Monica walked down the corridor without a pause, her heels soft against the thick carpet, her mind razor-focused. She wasn't done, not yet. She entered the main boardroom, a wide, oval-shaped room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Atlanta skyline. Waiting inside were members of her senior leadership team, already alerted by the internal security ping she had triggered earlier. Seated around the table were 8 men and women in suits, ranging from department heads to compliance officers, all watching Monica closely as she entered. None dared to speak first. She laid her folder gently on the table, opened it, and pulled out a single document, a printed copy of the bank's Code of Conduct, highlighted in yellow. She stood at the head of the table, didn't sit. "Let me be absolutely clear," she began, her voice calm but filled with gravity. "What happened downstairs wasn't an isolated incident. It was a consequence of unchecked culture, of comfort-breeding blindness, and of systems that allowed microaggressions to go unchallenged." Several executives shifted in their seats. One of them, an older man with silver hair and glasses, cleared his throat. "Monica, we all agree. What happened was unacceptable. But Travis had been with the company for 9 years. He managed 2 successful audits. He wasn't known for this kind of behavior." "That's the problem," Monica interrupted sharply, though she never raised her voice. "He was known for this behavior. It just didn't make it into the reports because the victims didn't feel empowered to speak, because people like him wear a cloak of quiet authority that blinds the people above them and silences the people below." She walked slowly around the table, her gaze falling on each face one by one. "Our job as leaders isn't to protect tenure, it's to protect values. And when the values are violated, there should be immediate accountability, not protection, not excuses." The room was silent. No one interrupted again. Monica stopped behind a chair, placing her hands lightly on the backrest. "We're going to begin a cultural audit across all branches, not just performance metrics, behavioral integrity. Anonymous reporting systems will be improved. Sensitivity training will be modernized. Every manager and assistant manager will be evaluated not just on what they achieve, but how they treat people getting there." A woman across the table, head of HR, asked cautiously, "And if we find more Travis-level incidents?" Monica's reply was instantaneous. "Then we handle them like today. Swift, public, unapologetic." She moved to the touchscreen panel at the far wall and pulled up live stats from the branch below. Real-time customer satisfaction scores, wait times, internal communication flags. "Do you know how long I stood there before anyone acknowledged I was a client?" she asked. 3 minutes and 17 seconds. In retail banking, that's a lifetime. But that's not what offended me. What offended me was how quickly I was labeled, ignored, directed elsewhere. That's what we have to address. One executive hesitantly asked, "Won't this bring scrutiny on us?" Monica turned to him, locking eyes with quiet force. "It should. We deserve scrutiny. That's how we get better." She tapped the screen again, closing the dashboard. This isn't just about correcting a wrong. It's about building a culture so solid that no client, no employee, no visitor is ever made to feel like they don't belong. She finally sat, folding her hands on the table. If you think this is just a PR incident, you're in the wrong room. If you think protecting the brand means burying the truth, you're in the wrong company. Because this is not a cleanup, this is a correction, and correction begins at the top. The executives looked at her, some nodding slowly, others simply absorbing the impact of what had been said. In Monica's eyes was the quiet fire of someone who had fought too hard to let silence rot the foundation she had built. And as the sun gleamed through the tall windows behind her, casting golden reflections across the table, there was an unspoken agreement in the room. This wasn't just another corporate speech. It was the beginning of a new standard, one that would stretch far beyond the walls of that boardroom. News of the incident spread through the company like wildfire, but it didn't stop at the walls of Summit First Bank. It went far beyond. Within hours, an anonymous employee who had witnessed the entire event shared the story on Reddit under the popular subreddit r entitled People. The post was titled, "Black Woman Denied Service at Bank. Turns out she was the CEO and fired the manager on the spot." It gained traction instantly. Thousands of upvotes, hundreds of comments, and reposts across social media platforms brought the event into the national spotlight. People were shocked, inspired, and outraged in equal measure. The post included a detailed account of the interaction, highlighting the arrogance of the manager, the dignity of the woman he dismissed, and the poetic justice that followed. At first, few believed the story could be real. It read like something out of a drama series. But then came the confirmation. A few online sleuths connected the dots. Monica Ellis, CEO of Summit First Financial Group, had been scheduled to visit multiple branches that week. A tweet surfaced from a corporate assistant that simply read, "You never know who's watching." Today was a lesson, followed by the hashtag #, Summit First. Then a former intern posted on LinkedIn, "I once sat in a meeting with Monica Ellis. She told us, titles don't make people important, character does." What happened today proves she meant it. The buzz turned viral. Morning talk shows picked up the story. Influencers made videos breaking down the timeline. News outlets contacted the bank for comment. But Summit First didn't run from the spotlight. Instead, they leaned into it with transparency. By the following morning, the official Summit First Bank social media account posted a short video message. Monica appeared on camera, wearing the same sharp suit from the day before, seated in a minimalist office. "Yesterday, I walked into one of our branches as a regular client," she began. "I was ignored, dismissed, and denied service, not based on my credentials, but based on assumptions. I chose not to announce who I was, because sometimes the truest insights come when people don't know they're being watched." She paused for just a second. "The manager involved is no longer with our company. We've already begun implementing training and reviews at every branch, and we're making sure our clients, all our clients, feel seen, respected, and valued." The video ended with a message that struck a chord. Bias has no place in our bank or in our society. Accountability starts here. Comments poured in, thousands of them. People from all walks of life thanked Monica for her leadership. Others shared stories of being profiled or mistreated in corporate settings. Some called her a modern-day trailblazer. Others said she had just raised the bar for CEOs everywhere. And while praise flooded in, so did questions. Business analysts began writing op-eds about the deeper implications of what had happened. What happens when systemic bias is challenged not with fury, but with poise and power? What message does it send when the person dismissed by the system is actually the one leading it? Monica became more than a CEO that week. She became a symbol, not of revenge, but of principled power, of silent observation followed by decisive action, of how modern leadership is not just about revenue and expansion, but about culture and conscience. In private, Monica was asked by one of her senior advisors why she hadn't simply introduced herself when Travis denied her. Why go through all that trouble? Monica's answer was simple: because I shouldn't have to. And that was the point. In a country still wrestling with the subtle threads of bias woven through its systems, her choice to remain silent until it mattered most was the boldest act of all. Her story was told in classrooms, boardrooms, and diversity training seminars. It became case study material. And at every Summit First branch across the country, one change became immediately noticeable. People began looking up more often, looking clients in the eye, smiling first, asking names, listening longer. Because now, every employee knew it wasn't just about who walked through the door, it was about who they might really be. And so, what began as an ordinary visit turned into an extraordinary lesson, not just in leadership, but in humanity, dignity, and the quiet strength of those who rise above ignorance with grace. Monica Ellis didn't just fire a manager that day. She sparked a movement within her company and beyond, reminding us all that real power doesn't shout, it acts. If this story inspired you, showed you the importance of integrity, or simply made you believe in justice a little more, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful real-life stories that remind us of what truly matters. Stay tuned, because the next story might just change how you see the world.